Hi, I would like to call to order the Board of Commissioners meeting this Monday, May 11th, 2026 at 6:55 p.m. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you for coming. I'd like to give notice of executive session that we had just prior, where we discussed legal and real estate issues. We're going to start off with a presentation. Mr. Norsini, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Allow me to introduce Tony Steele, owner of Signal Sales, who is our rhythm engineering representative here in Pennsylvania and on our latest traffic adaptive project. He's going to go over a few things, outline the system, and would also be able to answer a few questions from the board.
Is that me? Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to help everyone understand what we have out on Route 30, and I really appreciate it. A couple things I want to get through. I want to get through the introduction, who I am, the understanding of an intersection, the understanding of what you guys had here, what you have now, and I want to address the complaints that you've been getting. I'm Anthony Still. I'm from the area. My family's deeply rooted in the area. I'm a direct descendant of William Still, who helped with Harriet Tubman, his Underground Railroad. And the only reason I even mention that is because I have a deep interest in doing right for the area. I'm from here. This is where I am. This is where I'm from. I'm originally I came from New Jersey, in relationship to my experience. I did 25 years with General Highway Products, which is a distributor in the area that distributes your traffic control equipment. And my primary responsibilities was systems. So systems is what I do. I want to talk about an intersection, how an intersection basically works. When you go to an intersection, there's two main characteristics of an intersection: the main street and the side street. Your main street is the corridor, Lancaster Avenue, that handles most of the volume. And the other streets, the side streets, are the ones that feed the main street. Okay, that's basically how it works. At least that's the way we look at it. We look at it as there's a main street, a corridor, where we're moving traffic moving traffic through an area, and the side streets feed traffic into that corridor. Every corridor is designed for a certain number of vehicles in order to handle a certain number of vehicles. When we go over that design, we create saturation. And there's only two solutions to saturation. You can either make more lanes or take the cars off the street. If you reduce the cars on the corridor, you have a better flow. Okay, since we can't add more lanes, what we do as far as rhythm is concerned is we remove the cars off the main street so that we can have traffic flow. And when we remove the cars off the main street, we basically put them on the side streets. Okay? What you guys had before we got here, what you guys had were non-intelligent intersections. What you guys had were your non-intelligent intersections. So basically, what you had was an intersection that gave a certain amount of time for Lancaster and a certain amount of time for the side street, or whatever, Lowry or whatever. And what happens in that particular scenario is that people who drive the intersection consistently, since it was non-intelligent, they're used to how it operates. So they understand that when I pull up this intersection, it's going to go there, it's going to go there. The intersection doesn't think, has no concern about the corridor, it's just feeding the intersection. This guy gets a turn, that guy gets a turn. That's what you guys had. And drivers become accustomed to that, and any change from that particular setup is different from what they're used to seeing. So that's when the complaints start. What you have now is an intelligent intersection. And if you're in, our traffic signals were patented in 1923 by Garrett Morgan. And his idea of a traffic signal was there was a guy standing on the intersection with a clicker, and basically what he did was he looked at the intersection, he judged wait time and volume, and he clicked the intersection to make it go to whatever one it was. So it was actually a very adaptive system. That was the very first, 1923. What we're doing with Rhythm, we basically recreated that same operation. We put cameras all the way around the intersection. So now we have cameras on Main Street, cameras on the side street. And we look at how many cars are on the corridor, and we give green time based on what cars are actually on the corridor. Okay? We believe, or at least Rhythm believes, and it's more efficient that way. It's more efficient if we give green time based on cars that are actually at the intersection. Which the only downfall is that the intersection is no longer predictable now. Because what happens now is we're going to look at the intersection and we're going to make a determination that if this guy's waiting longer than this guy, we're going to serve this guy before that guy. All right? And since we looked at the corridor, when we put it in, we looked at the corridor, we realized that what you guys were doing prior was not enough green time to move cars through Lancaster Avenue. So what happened is we added more green time or a bigger background cycle, which created a situation where people on the side street will have to wait a little longer in order to get to the main street. Okay? Since our system is intelligent or it can think, you're not going to get that predictable operation. For an example, at Ithan you have left turns. Normally it would be left turns, then the straight through, then the side street. When you have left turns before the main street, that's called a leading left. You can also have a left turn that comes on after the main street. So the main street comes on, then left turn comes on after the main street services, leading and lagging. The system you have now will actually look at how that is operating and make a determination of which one is more efficient for the intersection. Again, it makes it unpredictable. So if you've been going through the intersection forever, you're going to think you got skipped because now we're going to serve the left turn after the main street because our objective is to move the traffic on Route 30. That's what our objective is. Moving cars from Airedale to St. Thomas. That's the objective. Okay? And we base green time, again, on volume. All right, what was happening was, at least the complaints that I were getting, people were pulling up to the side, pulling up from a side street in a residential area. And I want to take full blame for this because I should have took more consideration that the corridor runs through a residential area. So residents are always, they are always used to the way it worked. So what was happening was that we allotted a certain amount of green time for Route 30. And say that green time, just an example, say the green time was 80 seconds, just for my explanation. So what was happening was that we moved the platoon, and a platoon is a group of cars moving in the same direction at the same rate of speed. And what we do with our system is we create a platoon at the beginning of the corridor. Say Airedale on one side, St. Thomas on the other side. We create a platoon by putting a red at the main street, and we stack the cars. Then we create our platoon. Then we take that platoon, and we move that platoon all the way through the corridor. And we give it X number of green time on the main street to move that through. Now that green time is guaranteed for X percentage of it. A certain percentage of that green time is guaranteed. So I'm not going to go to the side street at least until I clear most of that green time through the intersection. So what was happening was that how we clear that is between two platoons. It's called headway. It's called headway. That's a gap between two platoons. And there's a certain amount of seconds between the gap between the platoons. So we were looking at 4-second gap. So it had to be at least a 4-second gap between platoons before we'd serve the side street. But evidently that wasn't efficient enough. So what we did now is that that was at a 6% guaranteed green time on Main Street and 4 seconds of gap time. So what we did now is we reduced the guaranteed green time to 30%, and we created the gap time at 2 seconds. And we did that from at Ithan to Airedale because that's where our residential area is. So now, after 30% of green time is serviced on Route 30 from Ithan to Airedale, if that 30 seconds of guaranteed, 30% is guaranteed, and if I have a 2-second gap between my two platoons, I'm going to service my side street. Okay? Does everybody understand that? Okay. So from what I understand, we've lost a lot of the complaints. That's good. And I also want to add too, can I get to the end of my thing here? Okay, also want to add that it's not the system that doesn't function. It's the data you put into the system that makes it not function. So I'm taking full responsibility for not taking more consideration in the residential area between Ithan to Airedale, and not, well, thanks to Steve, he struck me that and now we're looking at a less short gap time, less guaranteed green. Any questions? Does everybody understand what we did? And I also want to add also that this is not our first part of Radnor. We also did a couple of years ago from St. David's down where Micro Center is to Hilltown. We did that originally. That handles all of the traffic off of 476.
I think you mean Hillside Circle. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, is it Hillside?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Right where the northbound ramp is, the 476.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hillside.
So how do pedestrians fit into all this?
Pedestrians are always guaranteed. Basically, the way traffic intersection operates, when you press that button, just like a vehicle detection, you're guaranteed a certain amount of time for that particular intersection.
And how do you, when it's changing your leaders and your, what are the other one, how do you know when the pedestrian cross time starts? Like if it's adapting to other things?
Okay, that's a good question. Since pedestrians are guaranteed time, they become priority at the intersection relationship to when their time comes up. But there's two ways you can operate pedestrians. You can operate pedestrians concurrent with the vehicle, and you'll see that at Ithan. You have a ped sign up and a vehicle up. Or you can do what's at Ithan, where they have an exclusive ped, which means that all the peds come on at the same time and we stop traffic at each one. We can't change the time the peds are serviced because that's a PennDOT issue. It's based on the geometry of the intersection, how much time it takes to go from one curve to the other curve.
Thank you.
And Steve, maybe you know the answer to this. Do all of the lights within this corridor have pedestrian buttons for crossing?
I can answer that.
I'm
Yes, they
thinking like
do.
Lowry's. Is there one there?
Yeah. Now, Lowry has all your intersections are actuated peds, which means that you got to press a button to get the ped.
If I may add, so Mr. Still has the map up that Dave Kelly prepared. That's all of our traffic adaptive signals. Rhythm did a fantastic job in the first part of cleaning up the 476 Lancaster Avenue intersection. That was Mr. Still. Tony has spent probably a lot more time with me than he ever really wanted to do.
It's always a pleasure, Steve.
But he has. And the things that have been done, like southbound Spring Mill, he has been given a clear shot to get on Blue Route North. So these are all the kind of things that are taken in consideration. And I think, as he had said, what folks have to remember is it's not going to be the same. Change is change. It's going to be different, and it's going to be different all the time, right? So
Correct.
When people pull up, it's going to be different all the time. And I was remiss when I laid this out to the public when I didn't make perfectly clear that the whole purpose of the rhythm system was for Lancaster Avenue, right? That's what the grant was for. That was the clear path, was to take care of this major corridor that PennDOT has through our township and many others. And it has been very successful at doing that. And Tony and I have been driving around and we look at intersections and he makes tweaks. And I think everybody needs to know, in the land of traffic signals, tweaks are small. They're a second or 2 seconds, right? They're not minutes or 30 seconds. And he's been continually making these as we go along. And he's made a larger one to, for lack of a better term, to sacrifice a little bit of Lancaster Avenue for the side streets. But the goal of the whole system was to get traffic through Lancaster Avenue, right? That's why PennDOT awarded us the grant. PennDOT's designers designed this system. You know, implementation is always the key, and that's where Tony came in. I think he's done a good job, and we are reacting. And he's been here with me for many weeks through this, probably a lot longer than he anticipated, but he's been very responsive, and we're still doing that, but complaints have gone down, and there's still going to be the oddball, why am I backed up to here? But if you stay there and look, all of a sudden it's gone. So we were at one intersection, and Tony goes, that's too long, I'm going to adjust it. By the time he got done saying that, that lane cleared, right?
Yeah, the system looks at how many cars are actually actually on that particular feed. Side streets, I consider side street feed and feed approaches. So when the system looks at that feed and it sees that it's X number of cars, it'll give it an X number of green time. If at the end of the green time it gave it to it, it still has cars on that corridor. The next time it comes up again, it'll give it more green time to clear it. It's constantly thinking.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have a question. So Lancaster Avenue and St. David's Road, when was that done?
Lancaster and St. David's. Which one? There's 3 St. David's.
St. David's Road. So
St.
if you're
David's,
going
Shimoni.
west, it's the very last one.
That went in when we did from Villanova to Ardale. March 17th is when we actually activated the adaptive system, and we've been tweaking it ever since.
Okay. Last summer it was problematic. That's why I'm just,
Last summer?
as a pedestrian, it was a problem. I'm not
It
saying
was
it is now.
before March 17th or after March?
Last summer 2025. It was.
Oh, I wasn't here then.
Oh, well, I'm just saying. That's why I was asking, when was it done? Okay. Now, when you say the object is to get people off of Lancaster, drivers, cars, moving through Lancaster Avenue and to push them into the side streets, that's not your objective anymore, is it? Because that's known as neighborhoods.
Yeah, the objective is not to push them onto the side street. The objective is to move cars on Lancaster Avenue. When you have saturation, we can't add lanes.
Right, no, I'm just saying, I just want to make sure the object, used to be, taking what you meant, is that move them through, not move them off
yeah.
and around.
But the only
Right.
reason I mentioned the side street is because in order for us to reduce the cars on Route 30, we got to put them somewhere.
So that's why you're getting to move faster through, not a higher rate of speed, but
Yeah, we're still
passing through the lights faster.
That's correct. And we take into consideration that movement on corridor is based on the speed of the corridor. That's how we can determine offset. Offset is when you drive an intersection, when you drive a corridor, and right before you get to the next intersection, light turns green. That's considered the offset. So that you constantly move from one end to the other. And that offset is based. Oh, I need to stay over here? Oh, okay, sorry. The offset is the relationship between one intersection and the next intersection as we're moving cars through. We base our calculations on the speed of the corridor. Every corridor is assigned a speed limit, and that's how you determine how long it takes to go from one end to the other end. And if I can understand the difference if I can understand how long it takes to go from this intersection to that intersection, I can predict when to put the green up. And that's what we're doing.
And will you be moving further west?
I hope so.
I foresee terrible problems on Aberdeen. I'm just saying, just in my intuitive grasp of the obvious.
I don't know where
So,
Aberdeen is.
It's the next corner up.
Yeah, so Commissioner, MBI, Michael Baker, Inc., was the consultant that PennDOT gave to us. So part of the grant was that PennDOT was going to design this, and that was MBI. They took a cursory look a little further west and were questionable about whether traffic adaptive would be the best solution. Now, that was a cursory look. That was one consultant. I'm not sure. We would look at that in the future to see if it did. From my time on Lancaster Avenue, and I've driven these intersections more than I ever have, and I grew up here, it is moving cars on Lancaster Avenue, there's no doubt. So that has been a success. And with the continual tweaking, we're getting the cars off the side streets, right? We're getting them through. But as Mr. Still said, you might see it backed up on one cycle, then the system sees that and says, I'm clearing it. And I've witnessed that, right? It will clear the cars. But yeah, I don't know about, I think that's a future study, if you will, feasibility study. We could look at that in the future to see if that's a entire corridor length project.
What's the time period from the study to the putting this in action?
The design to
Yeah.
construction, I'm going to say it was probably close to a year,
Okay.
which for a project of this magnitude, from a traffic standpoint, would not be unusual.
I'm just trying to decide how long I'm going to have to change my phone number. That's all.
Are you getting most of the calls?
No, I'm kidding. It's
Oh.
okay. But I foresee them coming. Okay.
Yes, Mr. White.
Mr. President, if I could ask a quick question, just on the functionality of the signals. First of all, thank you very much for coming. I could say this is total anecdotal information, but my experience on Lancaster is, as Mr. Norsini pointed out, significantly improved now that the entire system is in. And the experience at Lowry's has improved over the last month plus. So whatever tweaks, it is getting better. There are still times when you sit there and you're scratching your head a little bit about how long it takes. But I think that's just the nature of the system. The question I have is, you said it's always thinking, so it's always looking and changing the way it behaves based on the actual traffic at the time. Does it remember? Like, can it pick up trends? Can it pick up cycles during the day? Like, hey, this time in the morning, I need to adjust because this is typically what happens, or this time in the evening. Does it do anything like that?
It's not like it has a neural network like other AI, where we train a computer in order to recognize what's happening, neural networks. We're not doing neural network stuff. But what it will do is every cycle, it'll look and see what's happening at the intersection and make adjustment based on that cycle. But it doesn't. I know what you. There's neural networks in computers where we teach a computer what something looks like, and it goes and says, okay, that is that thing, and now it's because it remembers. We're not doing that. We're not there yet. Even though that is part of some of the stuff we are doing, it's just not part of your system.
Fair enough. I wanted to ask that specifically because people hear AI, and they assume that it's
Neural
not
network.
just thinking in real time, it's also remembering and adjusting accordingly. So it's good that we're able to make that distinction when we communicate.
Neural networking, yeah. In this industry, we have a way of detecting cars, relationship to what type of car, what kind of type of vehicle it is, neural networking. That's what that's doing, and that is in this industry also. But you guys can put in for that. I do sell those. Just saying. And basically, I don't want to do a sales presentation, but basically that thing will recognize a vehicle and tell you what type of vehicle it is. Computers are getting very intelligent.
All right, well, thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Still.
Thank you. Thanks again for the opportunity.
Okay, next up is public participation. It's a 5-minute limit. It's for our residents or business owners in the township. So when you get to the mic, just state your name and the street you live on.
Thank you. My name is Mary Packer. I live at 27 Fairview Drive. This is well-timed, right after Tony, because there are too many cars on the road. I live Fairview, so my crossing points are St. David's and Aberdeen. It's still a bit of a nightmare, but I'll go on with what I came here to state. I understand that next week you'll also be talking about 118 and 120 North Wayne Avenue, but I was at a planning meeting with my husband last week, and I really feel that I need to speak about this tonight and possibly again next week, because I think this is a huge impact on our community and needs to be highlighted. I thank you for the opportunity to speak. I want to begin by saying that I'm not opposed to thoughtful development in our town. I understand that growth and investment are important to keeping a downtown vibrant. However, this particular proposal of developing 118, 120 North Wayne Avenue raises serious concerns about its scale, its impact on daily life, and the long-term direction it sets for our community. In the 2025-26 Radnor Township Comprehensive Plan Survey, results show a consistent, overwhelming, strong desire to preserve Radnor's rural identity, protect farmland, manage growth carefully, maintain the quiet small-town way of life that defines this community. Each of these issues was summarized in the published survey results available online, but it's clear that increased density, increased noise, increased traffic and further burdening our infrastructure would not be at all consistent with the expressed goals of the taxpayers. First, I'm concerned about traffic and safety. A 3-story building in the middle of our downtown block will inevitably bring an increase in cars, deliveries, ride services, and general activity. Our streets are already constrained, parking is limited, and many families and pedestrians will rely on these areas every day. Introducing this level of additional density without clear and detailed traffic mitigation plans put both convenience and safety at risk. I would ask again, as I did during the planning meeting, that has a comprehensive traffic study been conducted, and where exactly will parking be accommodated? The survey clearly expresses concerns about roadway conditions, drainage, and the township's ability to support additional traffic. Second, there is an issue of noise and quality of life. More residents, more activity naturally means more noise, particularly in the evenings. While I've been assured that the green roof is just that, the condos that are proposed present a challenging logistical issue to many businesses along North Wayne Avenue. As noted in the survey, all respondents expressed an appreciation for the township's quiet environment, low traffic, no more, and agricultural landscape. Farming, open space, large residential lots are central to how residents define the township. I'm not sure we've been able to maintain that, but we have a chance now to at least slow things down. The survey shows clear community alignment, preserving rural character in a top priority across all demographics and length of residence. Another major concern is scale and architectural integrity. Our downtown works because of its human scale and cohesive character. Most of the surrounding buildings are lower in height and consistent in style. Even a 3-story structure would stand out in a way that disrupts the balance, creating a visual and structural mismatch. Once that scale is broken, it becomes very difficult to restore. It also risks creating a canyon effect along the street, which changes both the look and feel of this area. This is a mixed-use plan, a building that clearly is more aligned with urban development. We have also no idea what will happen when this building comes down. We'd like to think engineering has all of the answers, but you're taking out a slice of a block, and it could be very interesting. This leads to a broader point. Precedent matters. Approving this project in size and density sends a clear signal about what will be acceptable going forward. It opens the door to similar proposals, and over time, those incremental changes can fundamentally reshape our downtown. This decision is not just about one building. It's about the standard we set for the future of our community. I've heard it won't be allowed. This is a one-time exception, but I've seen this most often not be the case. I would also like to emphasize that there are constructive alternatives. Development can happen in a way that better aligns with our community. For example, reducing the height to 2 floors and ensuring that any project includes a clear plan for parking and traffic management would go a long way toward addressing these concerns. Design choices that reflect the existing architectural character of the block would also help maintain the integrity of our downtown area. Surrounding towns have done it well, and others have been aggressive, what I would call an overbuild. That would be Media versus Ardmore. You have a question?
No, sorry.
Did I go over my 5 minutes?
Yeah.
I was trying to talk fast. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I have like 3 sentences. Can I do that? Thank you. I'm sorry. I believe the concerns raised regarding this proposal are not isolated objections, but rather reflect many of the priorities already articulated by residents through the township comprehensive planning. In closing, we all share the same goal, a vibrant, successful town center, but vibrancy does not come from overbuilding or from ignoring the practical realities of infrastructure and livability. It comes from thoughtful, balanced decisions that respect both the future and the people that are already here. I respectfully urge the board to reconsider this proposal in its current form. I thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Did I speak fast enough?
It's perfect.
Could you understand my words?
Yes.
It was just one big, long blur.
Anyone else from the public? Okay, seeing none. Going on to the consent agenda. So any public comment regarding the consent agenda? Any board members, staff? All right. Can I have a motion to pass the consent agenda?
So moved?
And a second? Thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
on to the business agenda. 3A, ordinance 2026-11, adoption, an ordinance of Radnor Township, Delaware County, Pennsylvania, amending the code of the Township of Radnor, Chapter 240, Solid Waste, Article 3, General Provisions, Recycling, Sections 240-21, definitions, and Sections 240-25, recyclables, to require recycling at community events. Can I have a motion?
So moved?
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Foster?
Thank you, President Riley. A couple weeks ago, we had the introduction to this ordinance change, and all it was doing was updating the ordinance to say that now we will recycle at community events. We are applying for a 902 grant, and this was something that was mentioned on the application that we needed to have. So we saw that we didn't have it, so we brought it before the commission to make sure it's part of the way that Radnor functions.
Okay, thank you. Any board comment?
Yeah, I have a question. So I know it says that you have to put on the, what do you call it, on the recycle bins, to provide signage or labels on recycling containers to indicate what recyclable materials are to be sourced and separated. So I personally find that a little short in the sense of running a community event for 10 years now. And you see we have separate recycle at every single house. They're empty, trash is full, the bags are clear. You see all the recycle stuff, because what people do is they just go to the trash and they're like, oh, there go the bottles. And so if we, I don't know if you want to buy ordinance or not, but certainly buy to put on the trash receptacles to remind people to recycle and put the recycles in the separate bin, because otherwise it's just way too late.
Yeah, we can.
That's my suggestion.
Yeah, we can definitely consider that. See what it would take to undertake
Well, no, we consider it, we have to see if we should make it as part of the ordinance.
that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Or do you feel not, I'm not going to die if it's not there or something, but I just think it's a better idea to let, when people have these community events, that they put on the trash receptacles, put it in your recycles, separate your stuff out and put it in your recycles.
Yeah, you mean by signage?
Yes, you have to
Yeah.
put signage on the recycles, just put signage on the trash one too, and say,
Yeah.
put your recycles over there.
Yeah, we could do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not what we're doing, it's what
Yeah.
the other people who are having these events will do, will have to do.
I guess, are you asking to make a
Amend.
motion to amend?
I am.
And I'm looking at the draft ordinance now. Would you just add like a number 3 to community events? G3 to read something like appropriate signage, or?
Or you could just put under 1, community act, or provide signage or labels on the trash receptacles pointing, that they have to put in the recycling and on the recycling containers. So it should just go on both. Telling people on the trash to use recycling, this is what you're supposed to do. Just something that makes it clear to, I'm sorry, I'm not speaking yet, sorry. Something that makes it clear on the trash receptacles to do the recycling, because that's usually like, once it's in the trash, it's gone. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do, and I think it would be a great add. Mr. Rice, is that something that would need to be in the ordinance, or can we just provide guidelines for community event organizers to have the signage that we want them to have, rather than just saying signage?
I would do that administratively. If we're just talking about having signage, we don't know what it looks like at this point, but, without putting it into the ordinance, I think we can still do it, and provide some guidelines for any community events.
If you feel that's sufficient, that's fine with me. I just know from 10 years of doing this, no one uses the recycles, they just put everything in the trash receptacle. Even though we have one at each house. Just tell me, we have one of each at each house.
Or we,
Can we suggest that it reads, community activity organizers and sponsors shall provide language and/or labels to make clear recycling containers, or, just sort of bump up that language a little bit? I understand what the commissioner's concern is that if people aren't given instructions, they maybe don't appropriately hit the right bucket.
I'm bumped off Granicus, hold on a minute.
Nothing personal.
So I think what we're trying to do is just take this sentence here and add, because it's just asking for labels on recycling containers, to make it clear it's labels on both trash
And
and
recycling containers,
Make it
exactly.
clear which is which.
Okay,
So it's just amending that sentence to be both.
okay. So G1, we would just amend
Yes,
the signage. That's
That's
an
it.
amendment to the ordinance.
okay.
So,
Without re-advertising.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
great.
So a motion to amend that.
Second.
Thank you.
Right,
So we
Kathy
vote.
made the motion.
I made the motion, she's seconding.
And I will second it.
Okay, and somebody seconded it?
Yes.
Do we have any public comment on that amendment? Seeing none, let's call the vote for that amendment.
what it does.
All in favor?
Aye.
Amendment passes.
Amendment passes.
Now is there comment on the whole?
Yeah, is there any public comment on this? Adoption amendment, sorry. Yeah, on this adoption, is there any public comment on that? Seeing none. Okay, all in favor on this adoption?
Aye.
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 It passes. Thank you. Okay. Next is 3B, ordinance 2026-12, adoption, an ordinance of Radnor Township, Delaware County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, creating Chapter 115, Article 4, pet stores of the Code of Township of Radnor, adding definitions to Chapter 115, Article 1, prohibiting the sale of pets in pet stores, establishing penalties for violations, repealing all inconsistent ordinance or parts thereof, providing a severability clause, and providing an effective date. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you don't mind, just a quick lead-in, a reminder that we had a very impactful presentation last time, and I thought a very positive discussion with the commissioners. I would like to note that we have gotten some response to our introduction of this ordinance from a lot of owners of aquariums, and but it's been sort of a national outreach to us. We also heard a lot of supporting comments, at least I did. I got some atta-girls and people who are pleased with it. So we were hearing from folks from both sides. The one thing that struck me is that the group of folks who are opposing this are not from Radnor and have made assumptions that we are shutting down current businesses in Radnor. I just want to be really clear that there are no pet stores in Radnor that sell live animals. So that's why I thought this was an opportunity for us to move something that I feel strongly about, that is good for us as people who care for animals, but also we are not impacting any small businesses. And those who own animals in this community already have the places that they trust for those purchases and care and upkeep, and I would hope that the businesses that are supporting our residents in their love of animals are ethical and caring business operators, but since they are not businesses here in Radnor, I'm not sure where people go, but I trust that they're making good decisions for themselves, their animals, and their family. So I still remain strongly committed to this effort, and I hope that my fellow commissioners will join me in approving this for adoption. Thank you. Thanks for letting me have the mic.
Thank you. Any other comment from commissioners? Any comments from the public?
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Alyssa Miller Hurley. I'm with the Pet Advocacy Network. And first off, I want to say I appreciate the opportunity to speak with Commissioner Mulroney. I really enjoyed our conversation. So thank you for your thoughtful approach to this. We represent the responsible pet care industry, and that ranges from small businesses, larger retailers like a Petco and a PetSmart, to ethical breeders and responsible regulated retailers. We're in opposition to a ban like this for the same reason that we are in opposition to any kind of blanket ban. We know that bans simply don't work. And while we appreciate the fact that there are no small businesses here, we do have concerns of kind of a ripple out effect that could potentially affect small businesses in other communities that are closer to Radnor. The specialty pet stores and the specialty pet parents are the ones that would be the most adversely impacted. These are pets like birds, reptiles, fish that require more intimate knowledge around husbandry, around care, and around what it takes to keep these animals. And these specialty pet stores and these folks that work at them at the Petco or the PetSmarts are experts, and they're the ones that build these relationships with the owners. We also know, unfortunately, that the claim that it's very easy for a pet store with live animals to simply transition to a sale of non-live animals is untrue. In Cambridge, Massachusetts, Petco there was in the process of expanding, and when they passed an ordinance like this, the Petco actually stopped their expansion and moved out of the city because as a business model, it was not sustainable. So we know that live animal sales are an economic driver for brick and mortar stores. They bring people in, they help establish relationships, and they are really what sustains the ability for them to provide the supplies that are necessary for pets. And again, I appreciate that there are no stores here in Radnor that would be adversely impacted, but we also know that this would prevent any stores from being able to come into Radnor, whether that's a small business, that's a specialty store that is all aquariums, or a larger store like a Petco or PetSmart or Pet Supplies Plus. Again, we are committed to the same thing everyone here is, which is animal welfare. We just know that there are targeted approaches that we've seen work in other localities. And we'd be more than willing and would be happy to work with the commission on instilling and instituting some of these targeted approaches. Again, I thank you for the time. Thank you so much for the conversation. And we really appreciate just the time to get up here and speak and represent our side.
Thank you. Hi.
My name is Stevie Bolden, and I live on Browning Lane in Radnor Township. And as a Radnor Township resident for most of my life, I appreciate the community where we live and the work you do to keep it safe, happy, and healthy for those of us who call it home. Not only do I live here, but I founded Radnor Outreach and Animal Rescue, where we serve the Radnor Township, community, and beyond. I'm here in support of the preventative ordinance to ban the sale of animals in pet stores in Radnor Township. As a recipient of many species of animals who are in need of rescue and rehoming, mostly small animals originally sold in pet stores, I can tell you that pet stores who sell these animals have a negative effect on the animals, the consumer, and the rescue community, left to be a safety net for animals losing a home for various reasons. The Radnor pet store ban on animals being sold would prevent the opportunity for impulse sales, increase transparency, and allow consumers to make a better choice for their families, and eliminate the outlet for inhumane breeding and transport of animals of all species. Thank you for introducing this important ordinance and for all you do for our community. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, let's call the vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It passes. Very good. Yeah. All right, next up. 3C, ordinance 2026-13, adoption, removal of handicap space at 38 Garrett Avenue. Can I have a motion
So moved.
and a second? Thank you. Chief?
Yes, Commissioners, when we reviewed this initially, the subject has moved, so there's no issue. We request you remove this sign.
Thank you. Any public comment on this adoption? Okay, seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. All right, 3D, Resolution 2026-69, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Radnor Township authorizing financial support not to exceed the amount of $20,000 to mainline school night for facility improvements. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second? Second. Thank you. Mr. Foster.
Mr. President Riley, I'll take it. Thank you. So I'm here speaking in behalf of Rebecca Kane, the Executive Director of Mainline School Night. She wasn't able to make it tonight because they have another event where all their staff was required to attend. So the request was they have some improvements that total $20,000, and they were asking if we would be able, the township would be able to help them with those expenses. The expenses follow as such. A fire suppression system improvements, $11,000, and acoustic classroom panels totaling $6,000, energy efficient lighting fixtures totaling $3,000, which brings it to a grand total of $20,000. I just want to mention that the reason also that Mainline School Night is able to come to have this request met is they also have in their lease agreement, once they go over a certain amount, they're able to come to the township if they have other incurring expenses. So that's why we're here at this moment, and they're making that request.
All right, thank you very much. Commissioner comment? Any other staff comment?
I would, if I could, just to add that, specifically in the lease agreement that was adopted or most amended back in 2013, there was a cap at the time of $20,000. They were Mainline School Nights responsible up to the first $20,000 in maintenance items. That amount grows by the Consumer Price Index of Philadelphia every year. So over the last 13 years, it's grown. We're somewhere in the mid 20,000s now. Every single year, Mainline School Night reconciles that number with us, and they exceed it every single year. So they go beyond what the lease agreement specifically requires them to fund when it comes to these maintenance items. The other reason why we felt, two other reasons why we felt this was a reasonable request to bring to the board. First of all, as most of the board is aware, we have been talking with Mainline School Night for a couple years now about some significant improvements needed to the facility itself, where the township, in partnership with Mainline School Night and grants that have already been received and others that we're applying for, will partner together to make physical improvements to the building. These would be consistent or would otherwise be part of a request or an improvement like that. And finally, the source of the funding here is the facilities improvement bonds that the township took out a little over a year ago. So this isn't impacting the general fund or our annual operations. It's money that we had set aside for specific improvements, of which at a future date, we're going to come back to the board and say that we think that a good use of those bond monies is to improve Kreuzberg. So the combination of all those things made this request seem pretty reasonable, and that's why we brought it to the board.
Thank you. Any board comment? Any public comment? Call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, 3E, Resolution 2026-70, authorization for the expenditure to purchase 97 banners for America 250 celebration in the amount not to exceed $25,000. Can I have a motion?
So moved. Sorry, so moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you.
So I told Ms. Gallagher I would start it off with, this is part of our America 250/Delco 250 that we signed up for and to be part of. I think it's a great project that will help welcome people into Radnor Township, especially along the business corridors and in the different business sections. And I also want to really give a tip of the cap to Molly Gallagher, who's done a terrific job on such short notice to come up with, I have to say, great-looking designs, in my view. And also the banners that can be utilized for other parts of the year. So take it away, Molly.
Thank you, Commissioner. That's so kind. And in truth, this was entirely the Commissioner's idea. So thank you. And also thank you to the whole board for approving the America 250 resolution a few weeks ago. Since then, the artist has been fast at work at the mural over at 118 East Lancaster in Wayne. So if you haven't kept your eye on it, I encourage you to do so. Dan is fantastic, and he's out there despite the weather, so feel free to say hello. In the meantime, we've also secured a fireworks vendor. The show will be Thursday, July 2nd, and we look forward to kicking off the July 4th holiday weekend right here in Radnor with a free firework display for our community, which will be held over at the high school, and we thank Radnor Township School District for their partnership in that. We'll be sharing all of the details about America 250 at the next meeting. So as Commissioner Agnew mentioned, we're planning America 250 events and activities behind the scenes, and this evening the staff would like to request support to continue honoring America 250, specifically with the purchase of light pole banners for our business districts in Wayne and Garrett Hill to promote civic pride and historic awareness of the founding of our nation. The installation of new cloth banners throughout the township, including the Lancaster corridor, the Wayne Business District, and the Garrett Hill neighborhood, will serve to enhance the visibility of the America 250 celebration and foster community participation. Maybe not everyone will be able to attend the festive events we have planned for this summer, but our hope is that everyone will benefit from the beautification efforts in these business districts. So Ian has been kind enough to help me out with the visuals. On the left is the America 250 banner, and on the right is the Welcome to Radnor Township banner. So of the 97, our thought was to order half and half. So when the America 250 half come down after this year's celebrations, we will still have the Welcome to Radnor Township to use so long as they remain fresh. We have secured several competing quotes. But Mainline Print Shop in Wayne offers the most competitive pricing for the cloth banners. They're able to meet our lead time, which is around Memorial Day, the first week of June, and we prefer to shop local when we can. In total, as I mentioned, we need to purchase 97 banners. We really hope that these banners will be the start of the conversation for a seasonal banner program to honor all of the seasons and possibly continue our favorite Hometown Heroes program that already exists. Ian, do you want to go to the next slide, please? So this would be, with Bill's advice, we leaned on Gemini to do a little streetscape. So this would be an example of what we're looking for this summer, an alternating banner. Welcome to Radnor Township, and then America 250 in our business districts. Thanks, Ian. You can just leave that. Where finances are concerned, we're under budget on the America 250 resolution passed for the fireworks and the mural a couple weeks ago. We were able to secure the fireworks vendor for $16,800, and that includes a 20-minute show plus encore with 6-inch shells. That was way more competitive pricing than we expected. So now we have about $13,000 in unused funds. And also, Sam Woods Thomas, our economic development manager, is pursuing a possible grant with Visit Delco for $25,000 that, if awarded, could go towards the banner purchase as well, though there's no way of knowing that until the grant opens in July, so we'll have to keep you posted on that one. We have been so proud to join Delaware County in celebrating America's 250th anniversary this year. Thank you to the board for allowing us to mark this once-in-a-generation event that honors the founding of our nation. We would love to include the entire community and visitors to Radnor Township in our energy and excitement for America 250 by lining our busiest corridors with festive banners this summer season, and we appreciate your consideration.
Thank you so much. Any other comment from the board? Any public comment? All right, let's call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Very good. Thank you.
Thanks, Molly.
Okay, next up, reports of board liaisons. Anybody? Anyone? New business. Old business? I do have an old business one. Sorry, Mr. White. Mr. White, sorry. And I don't know, new business, old business. I received an email that said, would I sign on to something?
Yeah, we were, and I apologize if we missed a step. I think this agenda had already been published. We were
Yeah.
shooting for next Monday's agenda to put that. It was an anti-gun violence petition. We were going to have that as new business on the next agenda.
All right, thank you.
If that's acceptable, or
Yeah.
we can get in, I don't have all the details tonight.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Thank you. Public participation? Motion to adjourn?
Second.
And second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.